Hello, good morning. We are welcome to ATP Live this morning. As you know, our usual routine, we have one topic or the other to discuss. So this morning we'll be discussing about immunization. But before I begin, let me introduce myself. I am Felicia Akpanetuk, and our speaker for today, as usual, is Dr. Bimisola Boyede. Let's welcome her to the show this morning.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on ATP Live this morning. And like Felicia said, this morning we'll be discussing about immunization. And like we rightly said at the beginning of the year, that this year ATP Live is going to be about the topics that parents and mothers want us to talk about. Whereas on our group discussion, we'll be talking about what you really want us to talk about. So this morning we are here. If you have questions, you can drop it in comments and it will be featured. We encourage you to share the videos to your friends, your family, to your pages, your timeline, so that other people can join us this morning. And we look forward to a very fruitful discussion. So you're welcome to ATP Live. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gbemi. Thank you very much. We thank you for having you today, this morning. Well, as we all know, immunization is always a scary thing to all mothers. What should I do? How should I go about it? Should I do this before going for immunization? Should I give that to my child after? So, Ma, what do you have to tell us about immunization? What should mothers and grandmas know about immunization, Ma?
Okay, so let's first start by defining what is immunization. So the word immunization comes from the word immune. And when we say immune, it's mean like, let me backtrack by for explaining how the body, so normally our body fights against foreign body germs and all that. And that's why we are not sick all the time, because most of the time we are always being exposed to some of these germs and things like that. But most of us are not sick. And because our body have some natural agents or warriors or fighters that help us to fight those infections. And now, but sometimes, this body immune system, they can be overwhelmed. They may not be able to deal with a particular bacteria, or those bacteria or those particular microorganisms have found their own way of overcoming the body's immunity, and so they can still cause diseases. So we now know that immunization is a way of boosting the immune system of the body to be able to fight against those specific germs. In other words, you have prepared your body ready to recognize those particular microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, or whatever, so that immediately the child's body is exposed to them, instead of the child becoming very sick, and sometimes some of them even die from what we call vaccine preventable diseases. The body is already prepared. So when the body is exposed to that disease, all those, it's like you have trained your warriors ready, so they're able to quickly fight that particular germ, and that child will not be sick. So the child doesn't have to go through that process again. So immunization is one of the most successful public health intervention
Okay.
because before the era of immunization, lots of people were dying. You can remember things like smallpox, which has been completely eradicated now. But because we're
Yes.
able to develop immunization against it, so nobody is having smallpox again. So there are lots of diseases that children can die from, but because instead of the children getting those diseases, if we immunize them, if we have given them exposure, a kind of a controlled exposure to those particular organisms, the body would have prepared ready, would have developed the what we call antibodies and all those things against them ready. So when the child now gets exposed to those diseases, then that child would not have those diseases because the body immune system will be able to fight it. So that is what immunization is all about. So it's one way by which we can prevent deaths in children. And for us as pediatricians, we take immunization as very, very serious.
Okay,
I
thank you
hope that
very
is
much,
clear.
ma. Yes, ma. Very, very clear, ma. Thank you, ma. Now, what are the list of immunization expected of babies to get from the first day of life down to their next stages of life, ma?
Okay, yeah. So as we are continuing, if you have questions, don't forget to drop your questions now because I don't want us to start rushing through your questions at the end. So most of us are quite familiar with immunization. So we're just doing the introduction about immunization. So we have different diseases and different vaccines. So I really need to break down some words for us to understand. So there are what we call vaccines, there's what we call vaccination, and there's what we call immunization. They are a little bit similar, but they are not the same. So vaccine is that particular thing, whether it's a drop or it's an injection that your baby is given. And that process of giving your baby that injection or that the drops or whatever they give your baby is vaccination. Now your child's body now needs to produce a response to that vaccination. And so it is when your child's body produces that response that will now say that this child is now immunized. So sometimes because people can be vaccinated without getting immunized. So it's very important. It is rare, but it does happen. And you will understand as we go on in the discussion this morning. So that is so what are the vaccines available? Now there are many diseases not, just to say that not all diseases have vaccines. So, because I'm sure mothers would be like, oh, why can't you just give all the disease vaccines? So, because there's a lot of research, there's a lot of process going on into developing vaccine. For example, we've been trying to develop vaccine against malaria. We've been trying for ages, and we are still out there. They made a lot of headway, but they are not there. You can imagine if we have a vaccine against malaria, and for those of us in Nigeria,
It will be so wonderful.
be amazing. Exactly. So we don't have vaccine against all diseases. And so, but I will tell you the ones we have. But these ones we have, they are the ones that we call killer. This disease used to be what we call killer diseases before. But as research is going on, more vaccines will be developed. And then there are some vaccines that may be relevant in some parts of the world and may not be relevant in other parts of the world. Because sometimes people say, oh, I was in the UK, they didn't give me this. Oh, I'm in Nigeria, they gave me that. Oh, they gave this one in South Africa, but they're not giving us in Nigeria. It's
Okay.
because it is not all diseases that are also of the same severity or prevalence in each part of the world. So some countries will decide, okay, so we give vaccine for diseases that are so common that can likely kill many people. Okay, so let's start. But of course, majority of them are similar even in many parts of the world. So let's start by talking about so because most of our audience are Nigerians in ATP, I would use the Nigerian program of immunization to talk about vaccines. So, for example, the first immunization you get in Nigeria once the baby is born is BCG. Don't worry about the breakdown of what BCG means. You just know it's BCG. We call
All
it
right.
vaccine. Yeah, basic is getting, but mothers don't want to remember that. And then you don't need to do. It's BCG. And what does BCG protect? So I always get upset when mothers ask them what vaccine your baby say. I don't know. They just give me vaccine. What's the name? You don't know. It's important that you as a mother you should know. And this is one of the things. Remember when we talked about last week when we did our how to keep our children healthy in 2019. And one of the things we talked about is immunization. Immunization is very key to making sure that our children are healthy. And so make sure that your children are immunized this year so that they don't necessarily have to die. It's very painful for us when we see children die from preventable disease. I mean, why should somebody die when we already know something that can prevent that death? I mean, that is not right at all. So it's important that mothers know all the immunizations, you know all the vaccines. So the first vaccine is BCG, which is given at birth, and it protects against tuberculosis. So that is, tuberculosis is very common in Nigeria. A lot of adults are living with tuberculosis. They're always coughing, and for children, unfortunately, tuberculosis can affect almost all the organs of their body. It can damage the brain, it can damage the kidney. So it's not only the coughing or the lungs, pneumonia. It can affect so many things. So it's important that children get BCG immunization. And at the same time, we also give oral polio. I'm sure everybody is familiar with oral polio. I mean, with polio vaccine, we have been trying and we're almost getting to the stage where we want to kick polio out of Nigeria completely. So, but while we are still getting there, we're not yet there, we're almost there. You still need to take your children for polio vaccine, and it's a oral vaccine. BCG is a injection, but it's given on the arms. It's also important for you to know where the vaccines are given. So BCG is given on the arm and it's given into the skin. It's given at birth. If your baby misses it at birth, no problem. Make sure you get it as soon as possible. The oral polio is also given at birth. So after then we also give what we call hepatitis B vaccine. We all know hepatitis. One of the hepatitis virus is hepatitis B, and it can cause liver damage or liver failure or liver cancer in the long run. So it's important that children are immunized against hepatitis as well, because it's also very prevalent in Nigeria. So hepatitis B is also given at birth. So it's very important that we get that right. So those are the three vaccines that your baby should be given immediately your baby is born. Sometimes, because BCG is a very expensive vaccine, it's a what we call a multi-dose vaccine. It means that once you open it, you have to finish it. You can't keep it. So because of that, people don't like to open BCG unless there are many children who are going to take it. So that's why some hospitals always have a day for everybody to come for BCG. There are vaccines that are what we call single dose vaccines, so only one for one child. So that one can be given any time of the day, because it's one per child. But there are vaccines that are called multi-dose vaccines, multi-dose viral vaccines. So it's a waste of resource to open one for one child. So our healthcare professionals tend to gather the children together on one day. So that's why sometimes they may not give you your BCG at birth, because they want you to they want to have enough number of children so that when we open it, we finish it, because we can't keep it. And while we're on that topic, I really need to sound that it is important that you take your vaccines in appropriate places. I always will recommend that you take your vaccines in the health centers or the teaching hospitals or the government hospitals. I will tell you why I'm saying that, because vaccines they are expensive, but they are given to us for free. But there's is important part of vaccine we call cold chain. It is important that the vaccine, right from the time it was manufactured to the time that it is given to your baby, is maintained at a particular temperature. If the vaccine temperature drops or rises, if it rises, it can damage the vaccine. So, and if it damages the vaccine, then it means your child is just vaccinated and it's not immunized. So in the government hospitals, they have a way of keeping those vaccines properly, so that so most of them will go get it right from the storage on the day they need to use it, and they maintain the cold chain. But sometimes in some hospitals, they want to keep the vaccines, and we all know what happened in Nigeria. NEPA takes lives and all that. So for you to keep vaccines in the hospital, you must keep it at a certain fridge. The fridge must be used only for vaccine. It must be maintained at a certain temperature. There's nothing like NEPA take light, the light has dropped. So those are the challenges with private hospital vaccines, because sometimes you are not sure that these vaccines has been maintained at the appropriate temperature. And so that's why it's important that you, as much as possible, you take your vaccines, unless you are very sure that this hospital is a good standard private hospitals and they always maintain cold chain. Or some of them actually get their vaccines from the government's facilities just before they administer it. Otherwise, you are actually better in the long run taking it from the government hospitals, because it's free, number one. And number two, you can be sure that in government setup, the cold chain has been maintain. So I can see that I have quite a number of questions, and I will go ahead and take some of those questions. And why I keep on. If you want to know more about how the immunization schedule, that's not a problem. I'm sure we have it everywhere in our group and uh, in our website articles and all that. So, but I'll still tell us more about what are those vaccines. So I'll talk about what we take as birth, and that is BCG, oral polio, and hepatitis B vaccine. Okay, so Doris is asking what can be done for a baby. Okay, so Doris, this morning we're talking about immunization. So today is about ATP on immunization. So I will prefer if you ask us questions about immunization. If you have any question that is not immunization, just go to our Facebook group and drop it there, and somebody will answer you on that. But let's focus on our topic for today, which is about immunization. Thank you for joining us. Okay, all right. So somebody is asking about vitamin A. Very good question. So number one, let me start by saying that vitamin A is not a vaccine. So vitamin A is not a vaccine. Vitamin A is actually a supplement, but we tend to give it with the immunization. So it's also good because it helps protect against blindness. The commonest cause of blindness in children is due to vitamin A deficiency. So it's a very preventable. I mean, the commonest cause of preventable blindness in children is vitamin A deficiency. So, and that's why we give vitamin A to children from every 6 months. But you can also get vitamin A from your food. Most of our food these days, like flour, butter, they're always fortified with vitamin A. If you just look at the label, you see whether they've added vitamin A. If you give palm oil, there's vitamin A. If you give carrots or all those vegetables that are like orange and all those, there's vitamin A in them, it will get converted back to vitamin A. So vitamin A is very good. And so the vitamin A also has the one we normally give as supplement. It has a particular dose range. So usually for the children from 6 months to 1 year, we give them the one that is what we call 50,000 units. The one from 1 year to 2 years, I think we give them then we give them 100,000 units, and after that we start giving them 200,000 units. Now, sometimes some of the vaccines they sell in the shops, they are not as high, their units are not as high. So when they're giving you vaccines in the government, the one that the government normally dose the children with, they are those one like I talk about 50,000 units. I think that one is the one is blue, then there's red one, and all that. They have different color depending on their units. So so you really need to be sure if you are buying it privately, you need to check the units to make sure that you're actually giving the appropriate units. But if you are not sure, then you may really, it's not as if vitamin A itself is not effective, but it may be a unit that is quite low. So that may be what is happening. Okay, Boateng is asking, my 2 year, 9 months, I'll be having pains at the vulva, la la la. Okay, number one, Boateng, we don't prescribe antibiotics, and I'm not even sure whether this child needs antibiotics or not. Please don't just go buying antibiotics. It is antibiotic abuse. And anyway, that's also not what we're talking about today. So you can post your question directly on our Facebook group and somebody will ask you, but I'll just tell you in short that just take your child to the hospital, because even on ATP, we're not going to prescribe antibiotics for your child. You may not need the antibiotics anyway. Okay, let's move on. I hope Felicia will come back and join me. Okay, so Damilola is asking, Doctor, please, what immunization can my 4-year baby take? Because I lost the book of the records of a vaccine. Okay, that's not her problem. There are many ways to solve your issues. If you have lost your record, the hospital actually keeps the record. So if you have lost the record of your immunization, you can get it from the hospital. So you can go back to the hospital. They also have their own record, and they can retrieve it from, if you remember, if you are seeing the same area where, or you know where the health center is, wherever it is that you took them, that you can remember the timing, the days and stuff like that, you can go there, and then they will bring back they will help you feed back your card and document back all your immunization. Now, while since you've asked me that question about immunization for a 4-year-old, let me say that in Nigeria, our immunization, strict immunization actually ends at about 1 year. I mean, that's the one you're going to get free from the government. They will still give vitamin A, but like I told you earlier, vitamin A is not immunization. Vitamin A is a supplement, but we give vitamin A up to 5 years. But the immunization, like your BCG, measles, oral polio, DPT, penta, pneumococcal vaccines, and all that, those one tends to end at 1 year in Nigeria. As at now, where as pediatricians, Pediatric Association of Nigeria, we've been working with the government to see how to expand our immunization coverage. So but we're still on that. So some of the vaccines, there's supposed to be some of what we call booster vaccines that should be given. And there are also what we call additional vaccines that currently they are not part of the Nigerian program on immunization. So the vaccines that you get free from the government, it's not, that does not mean that those are all the vaccines available. There are more vaccines, but basically vaccines are expensive. Even though you are getting it for free, they are expensive. And that's why it's so painful for government that they spend so much vaccine on vaccines and some of us don't go for immunization or you claim to forget. So this year, if you, and one thing I would just like to say that if you forget your immunization and you later remember, don't say, oh, it was supposed to be given at 9 months, so I forgot. Now it is 10 months. You can still go back and get your immunization. So that's not a problem at all. You can always go back and get your immunization. We can do what we call catch up. Even as long as the child is below 5, even you can still get your immunization. Whatever immunization the child has mixed, we can always give back. Though there are some that we don't bother giving back because the child may have passed the age where that vaccine is relevant. Something like rotavirus, for example, we may not give it because it protects against diarrhea, which is commonest between the age of 6 to 11 months. So if your child is already 1 year, there's really no additional benefits of taking rotavirus vaccine, for example. But things like pneumococcal vaccine, we will still give because the child can still have pneumonia even up to the age of 5 years, even after 5 years. Things like measles, yellow fever vaccine, we will still give you because the child can still have those diseases even beyond childhood. So those kind of vaccines will always be given no matter what time you remember and you go for it. So don't feel bad that I've missed immunization. I won't go for it. No, those are the Nigerian ones, the program immunization. But the immunization, there are immunization that can be given at 4 years. Things like MMR, that is measles, mumps, rubella vaccines. The booster dose should be given at 4 years, 4 to 6 years. So you can go and get that. But like I said, those are vaccines that the government is not paying for. So you can only get them in standard private hospitals and you have to pay for it. That's just the difference. But they are available. If you are interested, you can go for it and they will give it to you. So even there's also what we call the DT, that is diphtheria tetanus. It's a booster dose like against the penta. You should also be able to get it as well from 4 to 6 years for your children. So, but the government won't give you that. But if you go to a private hospital that is standard, they can provide it for you. So, Damilola, I would just encourage that you take your child to a standard private, preferably a children's hospital. They can give you the card. They can tell you those immunizations are available after 4 years. But if you go to the health centers, they can only give your child vitamin. They won't be able to give you the other vaccines. Okay, so I can see the question is coming up now, so I'm going to rush in and keep on answering the questions. Cecilia is asking, is it compulsory for a child to be given paracetamol after immunization, even when the child shows no signs of fever or hot temperature? Thank you, Cecilia. Very, very important question. No, the simple answer is no. You don't have to give paracetamol for every vaccine. In fact, there are some vaccines that children most time will not have fever, so they are okay. But the one that is notorious for actually causing fever in children is what we call the penta vaccine. So that penta vaccine is diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, Haemophilus influenza, and the hepatitis B vaccine. So it has 5 vaccines in one. The diphtheria component of it, from our own experience as pediatricians, is very notorious. It tends to cause fever in children, and fever can be quite high. And when fever is quite high, it can lead to convulsion. And most mothers, when they have that kind of experience with DPT vaccine and the child convulse or have fever and convulse, then they are going to they are going to swan off the vaccine, that they are not going to take immunization again, even though it is not the fault of the vaccine. So because of that, for Penta or DPT, for those who are still taking DPT, we always recommend that you give paracetamol, and you give paracetamol after. Because I've seen a lot of mothers who say even before they go for immunization, they've already started giving the child paracetamol. No, you can give the paracetamol after. Actually, if the first time the child is taking DPT, most of them will have fever. Most of them, because the body is trying to reacts against immunization, and is bringing up those things. So the paracetamol does not affect the efficacy of the vaccine, because I've seen a lot of things people have put up outside, and there are a lot of people that see a lot of jargons and nonsense when it comes to child health, who have no idea what they're talking about. The paracetamol does not stop the vaccine efficacy or effectiveness. The paracetamol is bringing down the fever. It has nothing to do with vaccine at all. So we want to bring down the fever so that the fever doesn't cause conversion to the child and leads to the child, lead to what we call vaccine associated illness, because sometimes DPT can also cause convulsion, and we are not sure whether it's a DPT or whether it's a fever. So it's very important for us, because some children, even when you bring an with the fever, one of the very, very rare side effects of DPT vaccine is that it can cause convulsion, if not related to fever, but on its own. So basically, but for other vaccines, you can wait. If you take BCG, most of them will not have fever. If they take measles, yellow fever, most time they don't have fever. But if they have the fever, yes, you can give them the paracetamol. So I hope I've been able to answer that question. Okay, so we'll continue, because we have so many questions now. I don't think we have time to go on with our. Okay, so Felicia, welcome back.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So can you read the next question for us?
All right, ma'am. Okay, the next question is Cecilia Ajibawake. It says, good morning, doctor. Please, is it compulsory a child is given paracetamol after immunization?
I think you are saying
the old question. Okay.
No, the next question is about Assist Kafaya, the one that is displaying on the screen.
No.
Can you say that? Okay,
no,
maybe you're lagging. Okay, so anyway, Kafayat is asking, thanks for the teaching. My question is that some mothers say the mark of the vaccine given on the arm is not showing, then the child is required to take another vaccine. Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Kafaya, for that question. I know the vaccine you are talking about. So you are talking about the BCG vaccine. So for BCG vaccine, usually it leaves a scar. It leaves a scar. Now, let me first start by saying that scar or no scar, it doesn't mean your child, it does not necessarily mean that the child has not been immunized. And that's why I gave the example of vaccination, and immunization. So when your child is given the BCG is a very, it's one of those vaccines that has a technique to the administration. It is an intradermal. It's intradermal. And sometimes, sorry, apologies, but some of our healthcare professionals, they are not very careful. So sometimes they give it too deep into the muscle or into the, and so because of that, the vaccine may not respond. So the child may not have the scar. Now, if the child has a scar, we are very reassured already that that child has already been immunized. So we don't need to bother, because the scar is a response. Because when you have the BCG vaccine administered, the body response to it is what leaves that scar. So we know that that vaccine actually produced a response, and so that immediately settles. Now, for some children, if there is no scar, we really need to be sure that have we just vaccinated or have we immunized the child. So what we normally do is, so it is not every child who doesn't have a scar It's that we require revaccination. What we normally need to do first is to go and check whether there's response or not. How do we check? So we do what we call a Mantle test. So there's a test called Mantle test. So that Mantle test is actually to see whether the body will respond. So in other words, we're introducing artificial tuberculosis, and we want to see whether the body will respond to it. So we put what we call some antigen, like something from the tuberculosis part. It's not the full bacteria or something, but just something from it. If that child has been immunized, the child will respond. There will be some swelling, which we can measure. And when we measure it, we know that, oh, yes, this child is actually mounting up an immune response. Then that means that the child has been immunized against tuberculosis. Then in that case, whether the child does not have a scar or not, then that child does not require another BCG vaccine. I hope that is clear. But if we do the Mantle test, so the Mantle test is that they will give something again under the skin on the forearm, and then they will tell you to come back in 48 to 72 hours for them to read it. So when you come back in 48 to 72 hours and they are reading it, then they will see whether the child actually is if there's a response, there'll be a swelling that is about 10 millimeters. There's a way we measure it. Don't worry about those details. Then we know that that child has responded to the vaccine. But if we measure it, there's nothing. The thing is just flat. Then we know that that child is not mounting up a response to the as we expected from a child who has been immunized, immunized with the BCG. So in that case, we need to give that child a BCG again. So assistant, so don't just go and take the BCG again. Get to your hospital, to a hospital with a pediatrician preferably, or any standard hospital. Let them do the BCG test for your baby. If the BCG test is good response that we expect from a child who has had a BCG vaccine, then that's it. So forget about the scar. But if there is no response, then it means your child needs to be immunized. So I hope that settles you. So you have to go back for the BCG vaccine. Thank you. All right. So okay. Selibe is asking me, can children be immunized for cervical cancer? Very good question. I like the kind of question people are throwing to me today. Very nice ones. The answer is no. HPV, that's human papilloma virus vaccine, is not yet part of the Nigerian program on immunization, what we call NPI. So this is one of those vaccines I was talking about that they are available, but it's not free. What it means, it is available in the country, it is available in the hospital. Even some government hospitals can get it for you, but it is not free. So you have to pay for it. And I will encourage you to do that. We are hopeful that very soon, for those of us who have been around for a while, you know that initially when we started, some vaccines are just being introduced. Like there's a time that the pneumococcal vaccine was very expensive. People were paying like 20,000 for the vaccine because it was not part of NPI. But today now, the pneumococcal vaccine is already free and it's part of the government's immunization. That's very good. There's a time that rotavirus are expensive and people have to pay for it. But thank God now in some states, I don't know whether it's all over the states now, but in at least some states of the country, you can get rota for free. So hopefully very soon, HPV vaccine will be free as well, and which you can get it for free from the government hospital. But as at this morning, until I get any other information, it is not yet free. So it doesn't mean you can't get it from the government hospital. It just means that they will have to call the vaccine company to bring it for you, and you have to pay cash for it. So, but it's a very good vaccine to give to our children because it's very important. And you ask at what age it should be given. So usually we recommend from age of 7 to 10 years. You can start taking, especially the girls. It's very important you start giving them HPV. But the boys also need it as well. So even though we say it's cervical cancer, it's not only the girls that need HPV. The boys also need it as well. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on. I have so many questions and I'm trying to see if I can answer all your questions. Okay, I think I've answered Kafiyat's question. Okay, somebody is asking me about seizure. Joyce, you really don't just come online and ask what medicine to give to a child who has seizure. That child must be seen by a specialist, a neurologist, and they will do things like EEG and things like that before they recommend medication. Please, this convulsion is not, it's not even a medication a mother will just say, go and buy that, go and buy that. No, this is something you really need to go to the hospital for. So I actually wouldn't have answered a question like that because we are really discussing uh immunization, but because it's something so important, I really want you to get it, and that's why I answer. Please take that child to see a pediatric neurologist, get somebody to give you a referral letter, and make sure you see one urgently. It's very, very urgent. Okay, so somebody is Doris is asking, doctor, is there any immunization I'm giving a child to prevent cancer? Now, your question is so wide. So there are cancers that are preventable, there are cancers that are not preventable. So I really need to be sure what you're asking, Doris. If you don't mind, can you be specific? So we can't prevent all cancers. I'm sure if we can develop vaccines that can prevent all cancers, I mean, that would be wonderful, because cancer is still one of the main killers. But things like cervical cancer, like the question I just answered, can be somehow prevented, like you can give HPV vaccine can prevent cervical cancer, for example. Hepatitis B virus vaccine, HBV, there's HPV. Let me write them out so that people don't get it confused. So there's HPV and HBV. Okay. So okay, I'm not sure it's showing. Okay, so let me just refresh so that you can see what I just wrote. Okay, let's just move on. So okay, so I'm back. I just want to type the two vaccine because I'm not sure many people are getting it. So there's HBV and there's HPV. So the HBV is the hepatitis B virus vaccine, and it protects against liver diseases, liver cirrhosis, and liver cancer in the long run. HPV is about the what's it called? It's about the human papilloma virus, and it protects against cervical cancer. So those are the ones that are preventable. So, but majority of the other cancers right now, we don't have vaccines against them. So I think that is the answer to that. So let me go on. I really have so many questions today. Wow, I'm really struggling to go through all of them. Okay, that's good. Let's just move on. Okay, so I've answered Doris' question. Let's move on to the next question. So Olaleye is asking, can a child of 2 to 3 months old get infected with chickenpox? What measure can one take to protect? Very, very, very important question. Yeah. Okay, so yes, the simple answer is yes. A child of 2 to 3 months can get infected with chickenpox, especially so before the age of 6 months. Most babies are protected by the immunization their mother has had. So if the mother has had chickenpox before, and so she will likely pass the antibodies against chickenpox to her baby. And so that is why, even though, for example, we've not given your baby measles vaccine, we've not given your baby all those vaccines, your baby, a newborn baby, is still protected against them. But from 6 months, the baby, the immunization, all those vaccines, all those antibodies transferred by the mother to the baby, they begin to wear off. And when they begin to wear off, so that's why we now need to give the baby our own vaccine. I don't want to go into the details of why we give certain vaccines at certain time. There are a lot of science behind it. But let me just say that if you as a mother, you have had chickenpox, I will expect that you will protect your baby against chickenpox. That does not mean you should deliberately expose the baby to chickenpox. Like the Bible will say, for Lord sure no, but sure. In other words, even though you may think, oh, I have this immunization protection, but it doesn't mean that you have to go expose yourself unnecessarily. So if your brother if another child has chicken pox, you need to keep that child, if possible, away from other children who don't have chicken pox. That's the honest truth. I know it could be very hard for you as a mother because you don't know what to do and all that, but that's the best option. In some places, we also have what we call the passive immunization. So what we have been talking about today is more of what we call the active immunization. These are immunizations that can protect you for a very, very, very long time. But we also have what we call passive immunization. These are passive immunization that will give you what we call antibodies. So this protects you for a short time. They protect you only briefly for a short time. So there are antibodies, what we call gamma globulins against chickenpox, but they are very expensive. They are very difficult to come by, which we can give to the baby, which can protect that baby. They will start protecting the baby immediately for a short while, but they are really very expensive. So the best option is to see if you can avoid the baby being in contact with other person that already has chicken pox, and then see what you can do. But if you can have access, if you live in a country where we have access to what's it called? We have access to the immunoglobulin and all that, then you can also give that to the child. Okay, let's move on. Oh, my questions are not showing. Let me just refresh. Is asking, is it a problem or are there risks if a child gets double dose of BCG or any other vaccine? It's a waste of resources, really, but there's usually, most vaccines don't have like side effects because you take double dose or nothing like that now. So don't worry, don't panic. I know sometimes as human beings, our healthcare professionals, they make errors, or you mothers as well, you also get us confused. Maybe the child has come, you come again. So there's usually no problem with that. So don't worry about that. If a child got double immunization, that child should be fine. So you don't need to worry about it. It's okay. So don't worry about it. But as much as possible, don't do that because it's a waste of our resources. That vaccine could have immunized another child. And like I keep telling you, mothers, vaccines are actually very expensive. The fact that we are getting it free does not mean it's cheap. It's costing somebody a whole lot of money. So please try and avoid vaccine wastage. Okay, I see Skafaya is asking, if the mark is given. Okay, I think I've answered your question. Your baby for need to be tested for us to know whether your baby is immunized or not. And if your child is not immunized, if your child doesn't respond to BCG, they will give another BCG to your child. That's just the simple thing. Forget about whether it's given properly or not. There are many reasons why the vaccine may not have taken, but the most important thing for you now is not why it happened. The most important thing is for you to know whether your child has been immunized, because that child is at risk of tuberculosis. The child is still at risk of tuberculosis. The child is not immunized. So what you need to do is go for the tuberculosis, the mantle test. If the child did the mantle test and the child does not show a response, and they do a chest X-ray, the child does not currently have a tuberculosis, then they will give BCG again. That's the best option in your instance. Okay, Shifa Obelo is asking, when is that 5-in-1 vaccine given to the child? Child, see this question. When is it given? Okay, so 5-in-1 vaccine is the Penta vaccine, and it is given at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks. So I hope, and this is one of the vaccines that mothers tend not to complete. And in fact, when we want to know whether people are really going for immunization, we use the Penta as a way of knowing. So if when people take the third dose of Penta, then we know that really they are good in keeping to the immunization schedule. So Penta should be given at 6 weeks. That's when baby is almost like 2 months. 10 weeks, almost like 3 months, then 14 weeks. So that's when it should be given. And let me just say that if you mix any of them, you can go back and get them no matter how old your baby is. Don't say, oh, I've mixed it, that's it. No, you can always go back. And I think that's one message I really want us to take away from today. You can always go back and get your immunization. Okay, thank you. Busaya Ajayi, please post this question directly on the group wall and somebody will answer it. I want to focus on immunization and we don't have as much time today. Okay, I think I've answered this already. So there's no problem with overdose of vaccine. Okay, it's like some of my questions have been duplicated by my moderators. So moderators, please, when you are posting a question, if you see somebody else has posted, don't bother posting it again. So I don't keep on doing lots of repetition. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Oludu Mila is asking, morning doctor, my baby got the BCG vaccine and there was a reaction that made the arm swell like a boil, but the pulse didn't come out. What do you do? Nothing. Just do nothing. It depends on how bad it is. If it's a small one, because that is actually a sign your baby reacted to the vaccine, and it's that boil, what you call boil. It's not really a boil actually, but it's what is going to turn into the BCG scar. So some babies can have excessive reaction. Some babies have normal reaction, so it just form a little thing there, and then it become like a pause, then it will heal, then it become a scar. Perfect. But sometimes it can be very big in some babies, and it really looks so frightening to the mother. So in other words, the baby is having what will look like an excessive reaction to the BCG vaccine. So in that case, you need to see your pediatrician. There's something we can do in that case. What we need to do in that case is to give your child some medication. I won't tell you the name of the medication, but just see your pediatrician. If it's not so bad, you can leave it. Like I said, it will eventually clear out. So you don't need to worry. But if you are worried, see a pediatrician who will decide whether it's what we call BCGitis or a BCG abscess, which are like side effect of that mix of giving BCG vaccine. It's not a problem at all for the baby. We just need to give them something like a particular medication for like 6 weeks and it will clear out. But it's not the normal antibiotics, so it's not boil. So don't go and buy ampiclox. Don't go and buy all those things you normally buy. Please go and I am very, very particular about saying go and see a pediatrician, because even the medication you are going to use is not something you can just buy over the counter, and it's not the regular antibiotics. So if your baby has a very big boil, let me use your terminology, or a wound, very big one from BCG, you need to see a pediatrician who will give you appropriate medication. Okay, thank you. Esther is asking, Rota is not available in Ondo State. Okay, thank you for telling us. When I paid for it, when I went to Osun State, I paid for it. Okay, thank you so much. But I know that some states, so if you have Rota free in your state, so you need to post so that we know that it's not. A few states have it free, honestly, but maybe those who are free is free. Let us know too, so that we know. I know it's not in all the states. Yes, I agree, but a few states they are still rolling in out. So usually when we introduce new vaccine, let me tell you what we normally do. We do it in stages. So we have what we call the rolling out phase. So we'll start with maybe 6 states, and then we'll monitor it. Is it working? Is it good? Then we'll roll it out to more states. That is economics, and that's how government things work. So whenever they start something new, everybody is not going to get it the same day. But with time, I'm sure by the end of 19, sorry, we're in 2019 now, everybody should be getting it for free. So don't worry. Okay, Lillian is asking, my child was supposed to take the pneumococcal vaccine at 14 weeks, but they don't have it. Okay, it's going to be 4 months. No, yes. That's what I've been saying. If your baby missed any immunization for any reason, you forgot, you travel out of town. By the way, traveling out of town is not a reason to miss immunization. It's not. That card that they gave you, that immunization card, it is valid in any part of the country. It is valid. So if you travel to Kutuwenji, you can take your card and take immunization in Kutuwenji, even though your card was issued to you in Badagry or in Ikorodu. So mothers don't realize that. So we went home for the festival and then I couldn't go for immunization. No, 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 that's not an excuse. You can go to the health center in your village. That's why we have health centers in almost all the local governments, and you can go to any of them and show them your card. This my baby has taken this vaccine. This is the next vaccine. This is the date that is due, so that they know that it's the appropriate time, and they will give it to your child, and it will be signed and it's valid. So you don't have to worry that okay, I'm traveling, no, then my child will be immunization. That's not an excuse at all. But if for any reason, anyway, you see mixing, maybe the child was sick, and let me say by saying that not all sickness are contraindication to immunization. So we have what we call relative contraindication. So if a child is sick, but the child is not sick enough not to go out, the child is eating, the child is playing, the child is going to, that child can still go for immunization. That sickness is not serious enough not to go for immunization. But the sickness that will be serious enough not to go for immunization is if there has serious fever and the child is on bed, the child is on injection, the child is very ill, yes. But a child who is okay, I'm coughing a little and is running up and down, or I'm having little diarrhea, is running up and down, that child can still go for immunization. Because those are the reasons why mothers miss immunization that are really not sufficient reason for missing the immunization. Okay, Bukun, thank you for joining us. Hi to you as well. Adijala is asking, yes. If you've missed immunization, at least if there's any message you guys can take away from this morning, any immunization you have missed, go back and get it. No problem. And if any health center person arrives to, tell them your pediatrician say you can come back for it. Because I know some of them don't like you guys coming back, but really they should give your immunization. Yes, your child can still go for the 15. I don't know which one is the 15 months that you mix. You see intramuscular polio. If that is the case, you can still go for it. Okay, so no problem. Yeah. Okay, good morning. My is through respiration determination. Then what matters if a cycle that's usually on the bottle changes color? Which immunization are you talking about? Number one, immunization is not something mothers buy. It's not something you administer by yourself. And if you are just joining at the beginning, Olori, I said that I prefer you take your immunization at the government hospitals, health centers. Reason because health centers don't keep their vaccines. They don't. So they collect it the same day they are going to give the immunization. They use it. Whatever is left is returned or disposed. So they don't keep immunization with them. And that is very important. So there's no danger of the vaccines getting expired. There's no danger of it losing potency. There's no problem with cold chain. Sometimes in the private hospitals, some try because it's profits, they want not to lose money. Some of them have very good fridges and very good power supply, then they can keep it. But some don't, and they won't tell you, and you won't know that the vaccine there's been a break in the cold chain. So that's why I always recommend you go to health centers, because health center vaccines, there's nothing like it's expired. So if I don't know how you mean the vaccine has expired, don't worry. Maybe you need to give me more information, because number one, you are not supposed to be the one to check the expiration vaccine. The nurses do it, and they will write it even in your card. They write the batch number of the vaccine. They will write the expiry date. Some people do. I know not everybody do that, but those are the things that they can check. But they should ideally not be giving you expired vaccines. They shouldn't give you expired vaccines. If you take your immunization in government hospital, you should not be getting expired vaccines. So I really think you should check that as well. Maybe you need to give me more information on what you are trying to say. I'm not so sure. Yeah, so somebody is asking me, Bukin is saying, good morning. Yeah, why must the time be swollen? Yes, okay. So that's the DPT vaccine. So the DPT vaccine is given at 6 weeks. So it's not 4 weeks, it's 6 weeks. So I'm not sure, maybe that was a typo error, but it's 6, 10, 14. Okay, so it's an intramuscular vaccine, and like we rightly said, it's the Penta vaccine rather. It's about 5 vaccines in one. So, and it's given deep into the muscle. So because it's given deep into the muscle, there's some bleeding. there is some bleeding. It's one of the side effects of the vaccine. There is some bleeding after the immunization. And so what happened is, what I recommend for you is that when you notice the swelling, don't rub it. Don't put kerosene. Don't put hot water. Just get ice block and put it on it. The ice block, because when you rub Okay, sorry, I apologize. My internet went off. I just refreshed. Sorry, I'm so sorry for that. Thank you so much for those of you who stayed still with us. Okay, and our time is up right now. Um, oh my goodness, I'm not sure I'm able to finish all the questions. Uh, uh, Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was answering the question about Ibuku was asking about why the swelling. I wasn't too sure how much of that you had, but basically what I was trying to say is that it's because of the bleeding into the muscle when the penta vaccine is given. So what you really need to do is to make sure that you put ice block, not hot water, not rubbing it, because those will make it to bleed more. So what you really need to do is to make sure that you put the ice block on it intermittently, and it will go. All right, thank you so much. Okay, somebody is telling me that Rota is also not available in Ogun State, so I hope the government is watching the live ATP live so that they would know. I'm sure they know those of it that don't have it. Okay. Busaya Jaya really said, post your question on the group. We're talking about immunization today, and we can group or somebody else will answer it. Okay, so Adeyemo is just joining us. What is Rota? So Rota vaccine is a vaccine against rotavirus. The rotavirus protects against diarrhea. The commonest cause of diarrhea in children is rotavirus. So that's what Rota protects against. So it's given as it's an oral vaccine like polio, and it's given as 6 weeks and 10 weeks. Some give it at 10 and 14 weeks as well. So, or 6 and 14 weeks, but it's 2 doses, and it's just to protect against rotavirus infection that causes diarrhea. Okay, yeah. Somebody is asking, is a toddler at risk living with a child with any child who is exposed to a child who has a disease that is contagious is at risk? If you are exposed to somebody else who has a contagious disease, you are at risk unless you have been immunized. So if your toddler has been immunized, maybe protected, but if your toddler has not been immunized, then you really need to make sure your toddler is immunized against chickenpox. Okay. Yeah, so Esther is asking, can a mother who is breastfeeding take HPV? Yes, I think you can. I don't think it has anything to do with breastfeeding. No problem. You can go get it. Okay, thank you. All right. Somebody else is telling me, I'm trying to, Oludumila is saying Rota is free in Lagos State. Oh, thank you. So somebody is telling us. So those of you who say Rota is not free in Ogun State or Osun State, maybe you may come to Lagos State, if I call General Hospital specifically, so you can go get it there if you don't mind the travel. I think it's cheaper to get it there than to pay for it, because your travel is not up to 10. I don't know how much they sell it, but that's the honest truth. Okay, Opolwa is asking, yeah. Okay, yes, okay. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, I've answered your question. She's giving me a feedback. I think I've answered this question about Olori Juliet and immunization. Okay, I've answered Diola about Rota. Okay. Somebody is asking me, right. There's so many questions today. Yes. So, okay, somebody is asking about, yes, like I rightly said, the government is introducing immunization, and I think what that mommy is talking about is the vitamin A for 15 months, because this thing keeps changing. The last immunization on the MPR is measles and yellow fever, which ends at 9 months. So, but we keep giving vitamin A every 6 months to 5 years. But I think but now I think some of the governments have changed it again to make it to make it 9 months and 15 months only. So I guess that's what that mommy is talking about. But it depends on what is, because some of these things are not yet universal yet. So just check. See, everybody has immunization card. So on your immunization card, check what is written there and go for what your immunization card says. Okay. So if you don't have 15 months on your immunization card, then it means it has ended. If you have on your immunization card, it's okay. Yeah, Olori is saying okay. So she's giving more information about that expiration and all that. So you went to a private hospital, exactly. That's where you should have started from, because I am very sure that in government hospitals they are not going to give you expired vaccine. And I know why, because they don't store vaccines. They go get it that same day, and there are people whose job is to make sure that the vaccine is kept at the right temperature. They dispose when it's. They have all these checks and balances. Very, 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 very. Essential that they do in government. Our federal lab, vaccine lab. So they are very, very meticulous about it. So, and that is why I started in the morning by saying I always prefer you take your immunization in government hospitals. I didn't know somebody has had this experience. So I think this further strengthens. I'm not saying all private hospitals that are very good standard, very good children hospitals. You know those kind of hospitals, but you also know those kind of hospitals that if they give you vaccine, you really need to think twice, because you can see that when you are there, the light has gone off for 1 hour. I mean, if the light is going off, where are they keeping the vaccines? The vaccines must be the country must be maintained all the time, or else you are just taking vaccine. You are not taking immunization, because if the vaccine is not properly preserved at the right temperature, it has it has lost its potency. So if they give it to your child will not respond, even though your child has been vaccinated, but your child has not really been immunized. So I don't know about it. So Lori, I will just, instead of you arguing with these people, just go and get your immunization where your mind will be at rest. So so please don't, that place is very risky. From everything you are telling us, is very, 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 very risky, a place to take your immunization. Okay, I think I finished all the questions. Wow, I managed to finish all the questions. I thought I would be able to finish them. Okay, fine, that's good. All right, so if I've not answered your question, you can let me know, but I think I've tried to answer all the questions on immunization. So we're rounding off now. So we've been talking today about immunization. I don't know what happened to my colleague who's supposed to be working with me. She seemed to have disappeared. I know we had a lot of internet connectivity challenges. So no problem about that. But so we've been talking about immunization, and I've answered your question about, is a child at risk of any child who is exposed to a child with another infectious disease is at risk of having that disease, unless that child has been immunized. So that's what you need to do. So I've answered that. I've answered all the risk questions as well. So I think our time is up. We need to go now. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And like I rightly said, this program has been brought to you by Ask the Pediatrician Foundation, and what we normally do on Ask the Pediatrician is to improve your child health intelligence. So and one of the topics we've talked about today is one of the most important topic of all. We're talking about immunization. And just to recap by saying, immunization is something that protects and prevents children from having diseases. And it is important that you take the immunization and you take it at the right time. If you mix it, no problem, but you can always go back for what we call catch-up immunization. So the messages I want to take home I'm just going to give you take-home messages today. Let me just, before I give my take-home message, let me just say that if at the end of this session you still have questions, that's not a problem. Like I said, this program has been brought to the courses of Ask the Pediatrician Foundation. If you don't know what ATP is, we are a foundation that's promotes child health intelligence through the social media. So we have our Facebook group, we have our Facebook page, we have our website, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter. So if you have questions, the best way to get your question answered is to go to our Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, and you can drop your questions there. And we have moderators who work 24/6. We work from Mondays to Saturdays. We don't work on Sundays, so that we can have a break. And you should drop your questions. Somebody is going to pick up your question, is going to approve it, and then is going to answer the questions for you. So if even after you watch all this, you can still drop. Please, when you finish watching this video, don't drop your questions in comments after we've gone off live, because if you drop it, I won't be able to say it. But if you take it to our Facebook group, if you just go to Facebook and type Ask the Pediatricians, you will see a group pop up. So that group is our group. You can drop your questions there. If you click join the group, then you can enter the group. It's a closed group, and then you can drop your question and somebody will answer the questions for you. And within 48 hours, we try to answer your questions. So you can drop it. Alternatively, you can email us on ask@askthepediatricians.com, and we also try and answer your question if you want to, especially if you want to be anonymous. And if you want to know more about immunization, we have articles. Some of these questions you are asking me, we've done it before on our what we call it, our group discussion. So we've written articles on them. So if you go to our website, which is www.askthepediatricians.com, then you will be able to see all the questions on immunization. I'm sure we've answered all your questions before, and we can answer them again. And so that is just to let you know. And our group, our foundation, we are, apart from what we do online in terms of health education on social media, we also do community medical outreaches. We usually do like at least twice in a year. We go to, on Children's Day, we do Children's Day community medical outreaches. And on Independence Day, we do Independence Day community medical outreaches. We've been doing a lot in Lagos, and last year we did more. We went to Mose, went to Abia, went to Ogun State, went to Abuja, we went to Osun State, we went to Kwara. This time around, sorry, we went to Kwara. I'm not sure when to Osun State, but this year we are going to go to all the states in Nigeria. And so if you like what we're doing and you want to be part of Ask the Pediatrician, you can send us and you can reach us either through our Facebook page, just I want to be part of ATP. You can also send us a message on our phone number. Let me try and see if I can type that on the screen. Okay. I think it's 0569. Yeah. Somebody, if you don't know, but if you know our number, just put it for me so that I can put it up. I'm not sure whether I got that number correctly. But anyway, if you go on our page, we'll send you our numbers. Then you can email, you can send us a message, you can call us, you can do all that, and then we can, we can be parts of what we can tell you how you can be part of what we are doing on Ask Pediatrician. If you want to donate, you can support us. There are many ways where you can support Ask the Pediatrician Foundation. And this program happens every week, every Saturday at 10 a.m. So we look forward to you being part of us. We look forward to you supporting us. And that is our account details. If you want to be part of what we're doing, you can also sponsor this ATP Life program. You can sponsor us. You can advertise your products. You can advertise your services on our ATP Life, and we'll be very happy. And you can be sure that if you advertise on ATP Life, all the mothers and caregivers of children, they are watching, and your products and services, they are going to really go far and wide. And you can also advertise on our group and page as well. So all these resources is also promote child health intelligence further all over Nigeria and hopefully all over the world. So thank you so much. Once again, I apologize for all the technical issues we have this morning, but I'm happy that we're able to finish through and we're able to answer every question. And if you still have questions, there will still be a rebroadcast. You can post your question directly on our Facebook group and we'll be able to answer it. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I am Dr. Gbemisola Boyede, and it's been wonderful sharing with you. So have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everyone.